So we got another one for you. This is just, I have no words. Let's check in with what the Kansas state legislature is
This
doing.
ought to be good.
A Republican bill there authorizes, I'm reading directly from Newsweek here, genital exams of school children, critics say. The Kansas state legislature has passed a ban on transgender students participating in female categories in school and college sports after overriding a veto by the state's Democratic governor. I forgot they had a Democratic governor. Laura Kelly, that's their Democratic governor, had rejected the bill dubbed the, quote, Fairness in Women's Sport Act on March 17th, as well as two previous attempts at similar legislation. Republican lawmakers who introduced the legislation suggested it would be enforced during a physical examination, which critics have taken to mean a genital inspection. So, kids...
Well, that sounds like grooming to me.
Kids being subjected to genital inspection from the party that is so deeply concerned about the children.
Remember the whole anti-grooming dialogue? Like, everybody on the right was calling people on the left, groomer,
Still
groomer,
going
okay,
on.
groomer. It's like, well, what's this? Do you want to check out the dick and balls of some child? Or check out their pussy? Like, really? This is what we're doing now? So my first question is, how many trans athletes are there even in Kansas?
Well, that's what I always wondered, too.
What is, like, 1, 2?
These Republican legislators have become obsessed with this issue and, like, pushing through these bills in every state house that they control in the country and, making this a real litmus test on the right for where you stand on these issues. And it's like, how many people does this even literally apply to, that you're putting this at the very top of your agenda?
There was one state, I forget which state it was, where it was literally one trans athlete. And it was a whole, like statewide story, and they were acting on it. And it's like, what are we doing here? I often think about, for our kids, they're still doing co-ed at an age where I remember growing up where I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
We didn't have co-ed at that age.
Yeah.
It was separated already by that age.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a numbers issue,
right,
given where we
grew up
are.
In more populated.
Yeah, we live in a more rural county now.
Yeah.
And so they do co-ed at this age. And even at this age, the 9, 10 range, right? Like, it's still... Like, it's still relatively equal competitively.
Definitely.
And you have some girls who are better than some of the boys.
Definitely.
And, we see it. And so you look at that and you go, look, I understand when you get to the older, like the college level and you get to professional sports and stuff, there's a reason why they separate out, the men and the women.
Sure.
And everybody understands. I think as a society, people have come to accept that. And that's not an issue of like, it's not the same as like violating somebody's civil rights or not treating somebody equally under the law or whatever. But at like these younger ages, potentially even to the high school level, it's like, who cares, right? It's really not a big issue, number one. Number two, like you said, there's like 1 or 2 trans people in the entire state of Kansas who are probably involved in these sports. Why is this a national issue? And the fact of the matter is, like you said, the right leans into it for culture war reasons.
Yeah.
But guess what, guys? Didn't work. Apparently they ran a whole bunch of ads on trans issues before the midterms, along with the crime thing.
They did.
These were things they leaned into.
They did.
And you know what the reaction was from the public? This doesn't touch bread and butter issues. This isn't touching kitchen table issues.
Well, not only that, but they felt like when they were focused, like DeSantis, on, kids, protecting kids from sexualization in school or whatever, they felt like this was a real winning issue. And number one, that didn't turn out to be the case in the midterms. Number two, now they keep creeping into more and more extreme territory. And the consequences of their rhetoric, consequences like kids being subjected to genital exams in order to participate in some like Parks and Rec sports situation or local, school sports situation, the consequences become increasingly clear where people are like, what the hell is wrong with you? And also, I feel like on these types of issues, whichever party just comes off as the most weirdly obsessed with it and the most extreme is going to be on the losing side of the debate. So there was a time period where, I think the politics of this may have been a bit different, where it seemed like Democrats were more focused on these issues over and above any sort of bread and butter issues. And the public was kind of like, why are you like focused over here instead of what's going to, put food on my table? That dynamic has totally flipped, and Republicans seem literally obsessed with, trans sports and these sort of like niche online ideological culture war obsessions. And it puts them wildly I would love for them to pull. Like, this is wildly out of step with where Americans are, and especially not just nationwide, but I would bet in red states like Kansas as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the classic overreach. We saw this with they had a direct vote in Kansas on whether or not they're going to be pro-choice.
That's right.
And in deep red Kansas, it was like a crushing victory
It was
for
not
the
even
pro-choice
close.
side. And so, yeah, with something like this, governor vetoing it, it overrides the veto. It's like, okay, should we go to the numbers and check how many homeless people there are in Kansas, or how many people are living below the poverty line even though they work a full-time job, or how many people don't have health care? Like, this is what you're focusing on, really? Because, again, I bet if we look at the numbers, in some other state, it was like one trans athlete. This, whatever, you probably count it on 2 hands or less, however many we're dealing with here. And it's just they're up their own ass. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, they've drunk the culture war Kool-Aid, and they're ODing on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, from these type of incredibly extreme bills to, bills that are being floated that would give women who get an abortion the death penalty, or
right, multiple states for that. Yeah,
banning women from traveling across state lines to seek an abortion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is
Child
really
marriage one, by the way. I don't know if you saw that one. I covered this one recently.
Tell me.
There was, I forget which state it was. I was just trying to look it up. I couldn't find it. There's a state that was trying to raise the age for marriage, and the Republicans defeated it. They were like, no. I think it's like 16 now. They wanted to raise it to 18, or it was like 15, and they wanted to raise it to 18, and they were just like, no.
Or how about all the child labor law being rolled back?
That's a big one.
Because
that's been happening in a number of places.
The capitalists are like, no, the labor market's too tight. Got to get those kids in the workforce to keep wages low.
Well, you saw the dichotomy between, I think it was Minnesota with Governor Tim Walz signing a bill to give free school lunch to all kids.
Right.
And have it in New Mexico, too. That governor as well, free school lunch to all kids. Phenomenal. Like, those governors, my hat's off to them. That's really great stuff.
It's so basic.
But then you compare that with the in the red states, like in Arkansas, where they loosen child labor laws, and you look at the contrast, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man, this is crazy.
They ban kids from graduating high school and stuff if they have quote unquote school lunch debt.
Well, you and I talked about this. We wanted to go to our school district and asked if we could just pay off the school lunch debt.
Yeah. Because we got a letter home about, our kid having, quote, unquote, school lunch debt, which obviously isn't an issue for us. But you're like, how many people, is this a real burden for? And it's insane. It's true.
It isn't. It absolutely.
And it's a relatively small cost that it would take even to deal with this. And they just.
Oh, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. It's a fraction of a penny.
Can't understand it. We'll never understand it.
Indeed. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
All right, let's get to it. So as you guys know, former President Trump indicted on 34 felony counts of business fraud this week. He also faces legal jeopardy in a number of other potential cases, whether it's Fulton County down in Georgia, whether it's a special counsel, the documents case, fake electors, insurrection, incitement, all of these various things. So excited to bring in Bradley Moss, national security lawyer, to break all of it down for us. Let's get to it.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.